So the biggest lesson that you're going to learn about entrepreneurship, if you do entrepreneurship, is not to do entrepreneurship. That is a fundamental lesson that you're actually going to learn. When you're younger, you're going to want to start it, right? Like some of you are going to be in your 20s and you want to start up a business. You're going to go do it and you're going to royally screw it up. And you're not going to actually make something work unless you have some sort of privilege that's associated with your name. And it might be that, somebody that you can fall back on, that you went to a very prestigious school and you got some sort of network or whatever. But almost everybody that does entrepreneurship is going to come out of it saying, man, that just sucked. And when you're older, you're going to want to do something entrepreneurial because that's what the music is telling you at the time. This is like part of the culture. And you're going to do it and you're going to lose your shirt. And you're going to be upset with the fact that you actually did it. And as a professor that teaches about entrepreneurship, I'm a business professor. I've learned a whole bunch of things from engineering to business to sociology to psychology, a whole bunch of stuff. That's just what I do. And what you will learn when you do this is that you won't be able to do it and you will think it was a total waste. The challenge or the thing that I want you to understand is that it's not about doing the entrepreneurial process that actually makes you money, right? Like that is the goal that you often hear, is that you want to become rich and famous and all of that kind of stuff. That's the goal that everybody almost always tells you. But what you will learn is that when you do it, none of those things actually turn out the way that you thought it would be, and you end up being broke. And then you're mad at yourself for actually doing it. I know that all of this sounds really depressing, and we're going to tell you an alternative approach that actually just does work. And that is looking at the tried and true. What do we know that actually does work? Right. So entrepreneurship does work for some people at certain stages, and it's the right combination, all that kind of stuff. But that is extraordinarily rare that does, right? So you got to actually look at probabilities. How many people actually become somebody that's rich and famous? I mean, and I want you to actually look at real people. Do you know somebody in your family that has become rich and famous, right? If you have, or your family or your friends, your immediate family and friends that you actually know, right? That's how I assess probability. If you know somebody that had, then you might have a shot. But for almost all of us, and that you actually talk to and you're friends with and all that kind of stuff. But for all of us, don't do it, because that's what the probability actually is, because you start to look at it and you realize that nobody actually does it. Right. And nobody brings themselves up from poverty. They end up working in something that is somewhat entrepreneurial, and they're kind of just doing a living because they don't know how to actually get out of it. And it becomes extraordinarily difficult. So what's the alternative approach that actually does work? There's two ways that you could do this. And this actually does work. And this is not going to be harmful for you. In fact, you'll probably kind of be thankful for the fact that I actually told you to do this. The first way that actually does work, if you want to actually move up, is to do educational programs, right? Like I'm talking about getting an education that are hard and miserable, that nobody wants to do. Like when you look at it, everybody will say that's too freaking hard. That is too miserable to do. But when you look at it, it is a good, solid job at the end of it, like an extraordinarily good career at the end of it. That but people don't want to actually do this. Where there's good economic rationale for actually doing this. I'm going to explain it in 1 second. So the reason why you do that, right, that it's hard to actually do, that means that you're not going to have that many competitors going into it. So what are these particular things? These might be any number of different trades that you can get into. Things like electrician, things like, um, plumbing, where it requires you to essentially just get paid nothing for several years, but you're learning a new skill, right? Like those things work. And they, unfortunately, just because they've been around for a long time, I think it's just a historical artifact. They tend to be more biased towards males, sort of male-based careers, right? Like there's not as many sort of traditional female approaches, careers that tend to pay out as much. And it's just a historical norm more than anything. And I think it's actually changing. Right. So those ones work really well. But there's also the ones that people are like, that's freaking nuts. Why are you doing that? You're stupid. Right. Like, these are things like becoming an engineer. Uh, the courses are really hard. Becoming an accountant. The courses are really hard. Becoming a doctor. These courses are really hard and they're painful and they cost a lot of money. But at the end of it, they're a pretty damn good career that you get out of it. These things actually do work. Nobody wants to do them, so the supply is pretty low, and they're often done intentionally, right? Like the associations that control these careers, they're intentionally keeping the supply low. They're making it hard for you to get in and making it very painful for you to get in. But they tend to be, if you can do it for more than 10 years, they tend to be economically rational to do them. They tend to be pretty good careers, right? If you're going to graduate by the time that you're 55 and you can become a doctor for 10 years, you can pay off your debt and actually do really well by the time that you're 75. Totally, totally plausible. And then after that, you can have a good career by the time that you are, really, and then enjoying yourself, 75, and enjoying yourself doing a career that you actually like. It's going to be hard, but it is plausible to actually do this, right? That's what you want to look for. Those miserable, just nobody likes. The courses are too hard, and everybody says it's impossible to actually do. Now, the other thing that you can possibly do, and this actually does work, this is a little bit more fun and plausible, but it's also really difficult. Stick with the job that you already have, that you're doing really well in, work at it, grow your career at the same time, but then get some sort of hobby-based thing in the thing that you want to do and that you're excited about. Maybe you want to become an artist, right? Like maybe that's what you want to do. Maybe you actually want to start a little side gig on the side where you are a baker. Maybe you want to actually start a new business on something. Maybe it's some sort of, I don't know, maybe it's some sort of software thing. Do it on your side. Figure out how to do this where it's a little bit at a time, and it takes you a long time to actually do this. And people think that that is crazy for you to actually do. But why do you want to do this? It's because that there is an enormous risk that's associated with entrepreneurship. With both of these approaches, it reduces the risk. So what does that mean? The risk is that you're going to screw up. And you are going to screw up a lot with both of those approaches. You realize that's too damn hard. First of all, with the first approach, and you're going to want to, quit and all that kind of stuff, the sort of normal stuff that we do as human beings. But you stick with it and you can get through it. A little bit more risky doing that. Or on the other side, you wait until something clicks and you figure it out. And all of a sudden it clicks and things work out in your favor. Now, both of those approaches are thinking about what are your odds. Your odds are sucky at best for all of those things. They don't work. right? That your chance of actually becoming a physician as somebody, maybe you're mid-career and you're switching, it's hard, and your chances are very slim, but they are possible. They're more possible because you know of many other people that have done it. On the entrepreneurship side, it's extraordinarily hard, and you're not going to actually make it for the most part if you just jump off and go do it. But if you build it up little bit by little bit by little bit, you can actually craft your message. You can figure out what the hell you're actually doing and get going with it. In the meantime, quit thinking that you are going to become quick or rich and all of that kind of stuff, and just do the hard grind that everybody else does. It's just one little step at a time until it actually works. With all of those approaches, they're both miserable. And you know what? If you actually did the second approach and you do the entrepreneurship thing and something just really takes off for whatever reason, you'll be thankful for the fact that I actually told you to do this slow. That's it. Don't do entrepreneurship. Don't do it the way that everybody preaches. You're going to end up in a pickle. It's a mistake. Trust me, it's an absolute mistake. People are lying to you. Don't listen to them. Do it little bit by little bit. Actually get out there, build a solid career. You know what? If you become a physician for the second approach or an accountant, you can grow a business by actually doing that, which is much more viable than picking something like a coffee shop. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.